Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Rantoinette. Boy, we got a lot of stories to go over. This weekend was pretty crazy. Trump federalized 2,000 National Guard members to go to California to quell the protesting that was going on over the ICE raids. And Gavin Newsom is suing due to the fact that it seems like Donald Trump is breaking the law, but what's new? Israel kidnaps Greta Thunberg on her flotilla on her way to deliver some food and medicine to Israel. Trump threatens Musk if he contributes money to Democrats. I mean, I think that's kind of ironic considering he donated $288 million to Donald Trump for his presidential election. Trump bans 12 countries because they're brown due to the latest terrorism activity that happened with that crazy guy with the makeshift spray bottle flamethrower. And ironically, not the Egypt is not one of those 12 countries, which is where that guy was from. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia is back in the country to be prosecuted on some bullshit trumped up charges and then sent back to El Salvador. We got some stories on that. But the big story today is what's gone on in LA over the weekend. I have got a ton of clips to go through, and none of it's good. None of it's good. But without further ado, let's get into it. Trump has gone full fascist. He is over the weekend, starting on Friday, ICE started conducting raids of warehouses where people work. Stephen Miller gave the guys from ICE and DHS a good stern talking to, a tongue lashing about, I don't want you to just arrest criminals. I want you to arrest everybody. It used to be that they had a quota of 1,200 people, which, by the way, a quota of 1,200 people does not seem like they're going after criminals. If you were going after criminals, you would just go after the criminals. There would be no number. So if you're putting a number on that, that means that it's not really about the criminals. It's about just the amount of people that you can, brown people that you can ship out of this country. And Stephen Miller, we all know that he's, baby Goebbels, and I don't know. I mean, I guess he's just really mad because Elon Musk ran off with his wife. Who knows what that guy is frustrated at? I have a feeling that a girl in high school that he liked wanted to date a Hispanic man, and that was enough for him to hate brown people forever. So, but I mean, that's just speculation on my part. Whatever the case, he wants the number to go up to 3,000 people a day. And so far, ICE has gathered up about 100,000 people. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but this is a statistical fact that has been going around for years and years. Immigrants commit less crime than American citizens. And if you think about it for just one quick second, it makes sense. Because if you're an immigrant in this country, you could be thrown out at any moment. And that would incentivize you to not cause a fuss because you do not want to get kicked out of the country. I believe the number is less than 1% of immigrants in this country are criminals. So that would be about 10,000 people. And they have collected over 100,000 at this point. We're only like 4 months in to the Trump regime. and they have already collected over 100,000 people. So that means that 90,000, that's if they got all of the criminals. And let's not forget, Barack Obama was known as the deporter in chief. Joe Biden deported more people in his term than Donald Trump did in his first term. So it's not like we have not been deporting criminals for decades now. So with 100,000 people detained by ICE and either shipped out or on their way to be shipped out, that means 90,000 people are just regular innocent people. I've got video of just the carnage involved, not just in LA, but all over the country, because ICE and DHS are not joking around. The coup is here. The fascism is here. There's no getting around that. This is just straight fascism. Anyway, let's get into our first clip here. This is here in LA. So let's have a listen. Oh shit, I wasn't even plugged in. Let's have a little listen into what the local news in LA has got to say.
To take over the California National Guard is, quote, purposefully inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. Michelle, we'll send it back to you.
And canisters of tear gas were thrown into the crowds in Paramount yesterday as deputies and federal agents in riot gear stood across the street from a Home Depot there. The sheriff's department declared it an unlawful assembly and asked the crowds to disperse peacefully. Deputies say at one point the crowd grew to about 350 to 400 people and turned violent. Protesters were heard shouting at agents and throwing fireworks at law enforcement. NBC.
Take a look at that, y'all. Take a look at that. That is the American National Guard being deployed on our streets. And I just heard news that they are planning on sending in either 5, or I'm hearing conflicting reports, between 500 and 700 Marines from Camp Pendleton are now being deployed to LA. And I forgot to mention, one of the things that Stephen Miller wanted ICE and DHS to do was to start staking out Home Depots where day laborers are out there working, you know, looking for work, or to 7-Eleven. He says, I want you out there in Home Depot and 7-Eleven. Are these people out there looking for work? Are they the hardened criminals that they're looking for? Are these guys right here? Do they look like they're out there hunting for hardened criminals? Or does this look like just a fucking invasion? I mean, look at these guys. They look like they're dressed to invade fucking Fallujah, man. Full gear, full gear.
C4 spoke to people in Paramount about what they witnessed.
It's anger that we have, fear, a mix of emotions, heartbreaking. You know, no one is expecting to go to work and not come home. People are here for a better living. And if people are not seeing problem with this, then they need to wake up, because that's a big issue.
The FBI also shared this video online in an attempt to track down the person throwing rocks at cars in the city.
This is your tax dollars at work, folks. This right here. This right here. This is your tax dollars at work. This is Donald Trump doing a little airport chat in D.C., and this is what he's got to say. Now, before I get into this, I just want to make mention. Earlier, the end of last week, Donald Trump threatened to take away all federal funding to California. And Gavin Newsom's like, okay, fine. We're just not going to pay federal tax anymore. And California is like the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world. They contribute about $80 billion a year in federal taxes to the government. They're in the green, yo. This is not some small red state that does not contribute a lot of money to the federal government. This is California. So that right there was enough to instigate Donald Trump within less than 24 hours. By the way, the protest that had been going on Friday, the LAPD said that everybody was peaceful and everything was fine, and they got this. They can handle this. They got local police that are handling the criminal element that shows up after the protest, just like during Black Lives Matter. All of the protests during the day were peaceful protests, and at night, the hooligans stick around and do shady shit, whether breaking windows or vandalizing cars. But all of a sudden you see one Waymo vehicle set on fire, which, by the way, I believe some protesters called a Waymo vehicle to come meet them, which is, I don't know if you know this or not, but a Waymo vehicle is not operated by a human being. Excuse me. It is operated, it's got satellite technology, driverless cars in certain cities. San Francisco's got them. LA's got them. I believe one of the protesters called a couple of Waymos in, and they set one of the Waymos on fire, and then they vandalized a couple of other ones. So our tax dollars are going to work to quell these vicious, evil protests of a couple of burning cars and then some craziness at night. Anyway, LA's PD says they got this. Gavin Newsom says, we got this. Mayor Karen Bass says, we got this. But within 24 hours of Gavin Newsom saying, hey man, you're going to cut off our federal funding, we're not going to give you any of our federal dollars. Donald Trump immediately says, okay, well, I'm federalizing the 2,000 National Guard members to go into LA, which, by the way, is illegal because you were supposed to coordinate that with a governor, not against the governor's wishes. We'll get to a video on that in a minute. But Gavin Newsom already said that, we don't need this, and Donald Trump is overstepping his bounds, and he's also suing Donald Trump for doing so. But this is what Donald Trump has got to say on his little, airport chopper talk.
It's an insurrection. No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. Oh, I think it was a riot. I think it was very bad. It was covered really as a riot by almost everybody.
By the way, if you can't hear that because there's a lot of noise in the background, he's saying that it's a riot. It's not a riot. It's protest. There's some crazy people at night, but that's what the LAPD is for.
The bar for sending Marines.
The bar is what I think it is. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order.
Like I said, I'm not sure if you can hear all that, but the reporter asked, what is your line to send in the Marines? Because Pete Hegseth, the head of the Department of Defense, that drunken wife beater, whatever, douche canoe, Pete Hegseth, Pete Keg's breath, he said that he was going to send in those Marines. And the reporter asked, hey, what's your red line on that? And he goes, well, whatever I think it is. Okay.
It's about law and order.
Sending active Marines on the table, sir. Secretary Hegseth.
We're going to see what we need. We'll send whatever we need to make sure there's law and order. You first see those protests.
Law and order. Law and order. How come that there was no, law and order on January 6th, man? What about those people? Law and order when you pardoned 1,500 January 6 rioters. That was a fucking riot on the Capitol. And you egged them on. And then you pardoned them. Where's the law and order, man? It's only law and order when it's people that don't agree with you.
That's spreading to other cities, Chicago, New York, for example, in the next few days?
We're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit.
Wow, that's clever, Don. When they spit, we hit. What was that? When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Jesus Christ, man. Don has fallen off, man. When they spit, we hit. Good God. I've heard enough of this bloviating asshole. Here, let's see. Does he say anything else remotely interesting?
I told him, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing.
Spit on your military. You're sending the military there. There is no military in LA. There was no National Guard in LA until you sent them there. You sent them there. You were causing this shit. Anyway, I'm done with this asshat, man. Let's see what Gavin Newsom actually had to say about this.
There's a lot of these folks.
But put the blame for the unrest on President Donald Trump for the series of immigration raids that have rounded up scores of undocumented immigrants.
You go after vulnerable communities? You go after kids? I was just down in Compton School District 3 days ago, and they were talking to me about this 4-year-old kid. I don't even know where she is. This is a serious moment. The hell is going on? Threatening real people. These are friends. These are people we know, members of our community, destroying industries in the state.
And Mr. Newsom believes the outrage on the street and Mr. Trump's federalizing of the National Guard was all part of the plan. That when he spoke with the president Friday, Mr. Trump did not want to talk about the National Guard.
The conversation started with the frame of what's happening in L.A. He immediately pivoted to other interests and other things.
Do you think he was aware of what was happening in Los Angeles?
I think I'm more than aware. And obviously, he was setting this up to take these additional steps.
Those additional steps was to do something no president has done in 60 years, to federalize a military operation normally run by the state.
There's a protocol, there's a process. He didn't care about that. And the worst part, he completely lied. He said in a tweet that everything's now safe, everything's fine. Is that the case, Mr. Trump? He said because he deployed the National Guard. The Guard hadn't even been deployed when he said this. It's Orwellian. Simply lying to people. Unconstitutional, illegal act. His mess. We're trying to clean it up.
The president.
Listen to that. He said, Donald Trump said, oh, everything is fine, man. Everything's fine. Since I sent the National Guard, we've managed to quell all of the rioters. And that's the trick. That's the whole thing. That's what the right wing does. They will label a peaceful protest as rioters and the criminal element just so they can justify doing fascistic stuff like sending in the fucking National Guard. Now, take a look at this dumbass fucking troll, bridge troll looking like goddamn Shrek, Tom Homan. He threatened to go after Gavin Newsom to arrest him. They're talking about arresting the mayor of LA and the governor of California. How much more fascist does it need to be before everybody in America goes, Jesus Christ, this is fascism?
Border czar Tom Homan earlier suggested that Mr. Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass could be arrested if their actions are viewed as interfering with immigration enforcement. To that, the governor was defiant.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Look, I don't have a whole lot of wonderful things to say about, Governor Gavin Newsom. I find him to be kind of a centrist neoliberal here, but I will give him credit for this, for actually standing strong against these people. Now, of course, he does not have the federal power behind him. He certainly doesn't have the power of the military. And even though that is his California National Guard, when the president federalizes it, which is very unprecedented, like you saw in the news report there, hasn't been done since the civil rights era in the 60s, which, by the way, should tell you everything that you need to know. You know, that's how serious this situation is. But anyway, I will give Gavin Newsom credit for this. There's a guy here that is in LA, and he kind of breaks down what's been going on a little bit more entertainingly than I am doing right now. I'm just kind of pissed off right now. So let's see what he's got to say. Shout out to this guy. What is his name? Brian Baez. This is pretty informative.
Telling us the truth about what's happening in California, so here it is. California Governor Gavin Newsom put out a tweet saying the federal government is taking over the California National Guard and deploying 2,000 soldiers in Los Angeles. Not because there's a shortage of law enforcement, but because they want a spectacle. In Los Angeles, there have been mass raids going on for days now where ICE is going in trying to raid communities to try to round up people who are law-abiding citizens in this country to try to deport them. But there have been mass defend immigrant family protests going on to make sure that they stop ICE. These protests have largely been peaceful, and anytime you've seen any escalation, it's been from the ICE agents themselves. In this clip, you'll clearly see that the police are the ones that are agitating and pushing people. Here's another example. In this clip, you clearly see the people are peacefully organizing and literally shaming the ICE agents out of the community.
Legends.
As a political commentator, it's literally my motherfucking obligation to make sure that I'm corroborating shit, because a lot of people in the comment section are going to come through and say, well, oh, you're picking and choosing specific videos to show specific narrative. False. Literal news release from the Los Angeles Police Department themselves came out and said today's demonstrations across the city of Los Angeles remain peaceful, and we commend all those who exercise their First Amendment rights responsibly. The Los Angeles Police Department appreciates the cooperation of organizers, participants, and community partners who helped ensure public safety throughout the day. So even the Los Angeles Police Department is coming out and saying that everything has been peaceful all throughout the day.
God damn. I mean, seriously, god damn. And I've heard a lot of people speculate, I think this guy actually speculates too, that this right here is a huge distraction from the fact that Elon Musk a couple of days ago said that Donald Trump was in the Epstein file. Now, of course, we, with our normal, non-cult-like, sentient brains, understand, and we've seen videos of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together. We all know. I mean, this is not a fucking secret. Donald Trump, I don't need Epstein proof to know that he is a freak. I've seen the pictures with his young 14-year-old daughter. I've heard the things he said about his daughter. I've heard the things that he said about when he owned Miss Teen USA. And he's like, I own the place, so I just go in there and go back in the dressing room. If they're naked, whatever, I own the pageant, so I can do whatever I want. I don't need people to show me any more evidence that was already more than was already released on Gawker 10 fucking years ago. We already know that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were buddies. So if this is Donald Trump's way to get people off of the whole Epstein thing, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, this is some dumbass shit.
Yet again, here comes Donald Trump's orange ass, who, by the way, is still looking for distractions to not have us talk about the fact that Elon Musk said that he was in the Epstein files. He's over here escalating the situation in Los Angeles by putting out a presidential memorandum. This memorandum, he says numerous incidents of violence and disorder have recently occurred and threatened to continue in response to the enforcement of ICE. Literally none of this is true. I just showed that the Los Angeles Police Department said not only do they have this shit handled, but everything has remained peaceful. With this memorandum, he's basically taking over the California National Guard and deploying 2,000 soldiers in Los Angeles for fucking nothing. Not only that, but then got Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of the Department of Defense, put out a tweet that basically says the Department of Defense is mobilizing the National Guard immediately to support federal law enforcement in Los Angeles. And if violence continues, active duty Marines at Camp Pendleton will also be mobilized. They are on high alert. High alert for what they're calling a violent mob assault on ICE. which is again a false fucking flag. None of it is true. Not only have they activated National Guard and have Marines at hand, they're also bringing in military equipment and ammunition into the community. Black Hawk helicopter, which is a military helicopter, moved in from the Border Patrol. They are unloading dozens of boxes of ammunition, lethal weaponry, and you see tanks with flammable labels on the side, as if they were getting ready for major battle. While he's militarizing police, escalating tensions in Los Angeles, also that he can get another story out there other than he's in the Epstein files. While all of this is happening, this motherfucker's at UFC making an entrance with Dana White and shit. All of this is a fucking spectacle. All of this is a distraction, and I need us to be focused and toned in.
Come on, man. I mean, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, I've also heard that this is not just about revenge against Gavin Newsom, or this is not just a distraction. What's the guy's name? He's a reporter, Lev Parnas. He says that his sources say that the National Guard in LA isn't just about the revenge. It's part of a larger plan tied to the June 14th protests that are scheduled all over the country. That's next weekend. And that is the Donald Trump military parade / Donald Trump's birthday celebration, where he goes full Kim Jong-un and has the military on the street. Lev Parnas says that they seem to be coordinating a much bigger thing coming from either the military or National Guard all over the country to go after these protests that are coming up next weekend. Which, by the way, I'm in New York City and I will be at that protest. So, if I don't show up on the news and, show up reading the news the following week, maybe it's because I got arrested. Jesus Christ. It's getting crazy, man. It's absolutely getting crazy. Take a look at this. A reporter for, I believe she's a CNN affiliate. She's an Australian reporter. And you've probably already seen this by now because it's gone viral. But this woman is on the street in LA talking about, what's going on with the protests. And there's a whole bunch of LAPD out there. And one of them over her, well, it's going to be on the left-hand side of the screen, but it's over her right shoulder. She, it's going to be like, on this side of the screen here, you'll see there is a cop that just turns around very slowly, very, intentionally, sees the woman with a microphone in her hand, standing in front of a camera, turns his gun and shoots her. Take a look at this.
You just shut the fuck up.
You okay?
I'm good. After hours of standing off, this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the
Watch over her right shoulder. Look at this guy right here. He's slow and just shoots her right in the back of the fucking leg. Shit is getting out of hand, man. It's absolutely getting out of hand. Here's another reporter. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He works for Status Quo, and they're in LA covering this National Guard, fascist deployment here. And they shoot at this guy with tear gas. Here, take a look.
Yes! No respect! No respect!
Look at these guys, man. That right there, that's one of the Waymo vehicles that got burned. And look at all these people out here. I mean, look at these damn, Donald Trump's always talking about, they're invading our country. All of these illegals, they're invading our country. Who looks like the invading fucking force here, man? Armed to the teeth in riot gear and full military, I mean, they look like they're about to go, into Iraq. Over a protest. I think the reporter is in this car here.
Don't rub it.
That's him getting pepper sprayed. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, check this one out. This is the LA PD chief of police. He is, giving a presser, and the funny thing, it's not funny. None of this is funny. None of this. But he's talking about how the protests have been peaceful, and that he's also praising the LAPD for their for their gentle hand in all of this. And I want you to look at the footage of the helicopter. I mean, whatever. I think it's a helicopter shooting this footage of the street down here. Take a look at the cops on horseback. And there's a guy there. There's a protester. And while this guy is talking about the gentle hand of the police, take a look see what these horseback cops are doing.
Job is simply to keep everyone safe. I want to express my sincere appreciation to all of our officers and partner agencies for their dedication and professionalism during these very challenging times. Their commitment to upholding the law, even in the face of hostility, is a reflection of the values that we stand for. We're working together to keep everyone safe, our officers and the public alike, and this remains our top priority. We'll continue to support peaceful protests and enforce the law when criminal acts occur. The LAPD remains focused on its core mission to protect lives, safeguard constitutional rights, and serve every neighborhood in Los Angeles with integrity.
Just kicking him.
So I want to just take an opportunity to...
The horse clomped over the top of him, and then the cop grabbed him and slung his ass back down to the road. Yeah, man, they're really gentle. The LAPD, super gentle, shooting reporters, gassing reporters, running over them with their, with their horses. Yeah, man, it seems they seem real gentle. Now, this is not just going on in LA. This happened a couple of days ago in New York. There was a guy who went, and this has been going on for a while now. Immigrants who are awaiting any kind of, judicial review, they get called up to go to meet an immigrant judge. They've been in the country for a little while, and which, by the way, means that they're not illegal, because if they were illegal, they wouldn't have a court date. There would be no reason for them to go to their court date because they're here illegally and secretively. So these people are obviously here legally. They might not be documented yet, but they are here legally. And they go to their court date. The judge dismisses their case. It's almost like they're calling him in there. These judges, they seem like they're kind of working in coordination with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. How very Orwellian. And they dismiss their case, and as soon as they walk out of the courtroom, then ICE takes them into custody. So ICE is not just going out and doing raids, but they're also hanging out at courtrooms waiting on people to get dismissed just so they can take them into custody. This happened in New York a couple of days ago.
Just developing after yesterday's arrest inside that Manhattan federal courthouse, a man taken down by ICE agents after his immigration proceedings were dismissed. The Department of Homeland Security says Joaquin Rosario Espinal was here illegally from the Dominican Republic. DHS says he resisted arrest and claimed...
How is he here illegally and going to a court hearing? If he was here illegally, he wouldn't have a court date. If he was here illegally, they would know who the fuck he was. So, I mean, even this fucking news reporter saying this, goddamn, it's infuriating.
That he punched an officer. Federal agents have reportedly been rounding up migrants around courthouses in Lower Manhattan all week, prompting activists to come out here and demonstrate today.
All of these unmarked dudes here, all of these little fucking fascists, man. Yeah, he hit them. There's like about 10 of them taking this one guy down. Hardened criminal who went to his court date. And then he gets his case dismissed and immediately gets taken down by a half a dozen fascists. Fan-fucking-tastic. This is wonderful. Wonderful stuff. This is, I believe this is in Memphis, Tennessee. This happened a couple of days ago.
April? They are worried, and this latest incident happened last Thursday. Attorneys tell us it caught plenty of people by surprise. People who showed up trying to follow the law were instead taken in by law enforcement. All of this happening outside Immigration Court on Monroe Avenue in downtown Memphis. Now, these pictures captured some of what went down. A person who works in the building shared them with WREG. She says she was shocked to see a woman handcuffed and in tears as she was led away by what appeared to be ICE agents. She also saw a young man detained. This is what attorneys say is happening in cities across the country and has now come to Memphis, a way to deport people quickly who've been in the country less than 2 years.
Isn't that clever? Isn't that clever? And that seems to be, this is not just going on in LA and in New York. It's going on all across the country. Here's another one. I believe this is in South Carolina, at a club in South Carolina. Tell me this does not look like some dystopian fucking fascistic, Verhoeven movie. You think I got enough? Oh, by all means, blur out their faces. They're not wearing masks. This looks like a fucking invading force. And they are invading our country. This is just disgusting, man. It's absolutely disgusting. This guy right here, he gets pretty emotional. I believe this is in LA.
Fuck, yo. City schools are predominantly Hispanic. They were having their graduation. And there's helicopters in the sky. And a bunch of parents have to run out because ISIS is there. They don't have papers, and they had to leave their kids because the kids do. What type of shit is this, yo? And then kids are freaking grabbing teachers and crying on their leg because they don't know if they're about to see their parents when they get home. What the fuck is this? And we voted for this shit? 15 people just got picked up on Wilshire at the Home Depot. On Wilshire. Yo. Man, oh my God. This is not right. This is not right, yo.
Almost as if it was a...
No shit, man. This is not right. I mean, just imagine if you're a kid and you're at your, grammar school graduation, and then all of a sudden your mom or your dad has got to run and has to leave you there, and you eventually have got to go home and wonder, oh my God, is my mom going to come home tonight? Is my dad going to come home tonight? Or are they going to get locked up and shipped out of the country? I mean, it's, goddamn, I'm not at a loss for words, but take a look at this guy. This is the ICE acting secretary. And tell me we're not in a V for Vendetta dystopian future here. Take a look at this guy. After everything that you've seen and all of these regular common folk having to go through this kind of shit, take a look and see what this numbnuts, triple chin asshat has got to say.
My officers and agents walk into danger so other people can sleep safely at night, so kids can make it to school safely and play outside.
Safety, huh? Safely at school. You just invaded a grade school, man.
So while it's easy to be an armchair quarterback and make up talking points that get activists riled up, the bottom line is my officers and agents are out there protecting the same people who are threatening their safety. Law enforcement's common sense. Politicians need to stop putting my people in danger. I'm not asking them to stop. I'm demanding that they stop.
Fuck you. Putting them in danger. The ones that are wearing masks, who are armed to the teeth, who look like they're about to invade a foreign country. Those people are in danger. Meanwhile, children, little kid, 4-year-olds with cancer are getting deported. Moms are getting deported. A mother was recently deported who has cancer. Had to leave her little... They left her kid. They snatched her and left her kid alone. I think a family member grabbed the kid. But he's sitting there talking about his ICE people are in danger. Fuck you, man. I mean, seriously, just go fuck yourself. Karen Bass, she's in LA, and she was on the news getting interviewed. Let's see what she's got to say.
It has been a busy night across Los Angeles. We have seen unrest citywide once again here, all surrounding the Trump administration's handling of ICE raids and detentions.
By the way, before we get into this, I just want to reiterate, very much like the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests during the day are peaceful, and then all of the protesters go home. I went to at least a half a dozen protests during the Black Lives Matter movement, and everybody would go home. There was never any ruckus. It was all very peaceful. You ever heard the expression, the revolution will not be televised? The only time news reporters put a camera on something is if it's going to get some hits, if people are going to watch it. And usually it's got to do with some kind of carnage. That's the only time they point a camera. So if you're at a peaceful protest, generally speaking, 99 out of 100 times, a news reporter is not going to be there because it's not interesting television to watch a peaceful crowd of people march down the street. You do not see that. The only time you ever see those kind of clips are generally from people at the protests recording it with their phone. You never see the news putting a camera on that. The only time they put a camera on it is if it's some violence going on and they can sell it on TV. But anyway, check this out. While they're interviewing Karen Bass over the phone, just check out the, it looks like, Fallujah with the military.
And now LA Mayor Karen Bass joins us live on the phone. Mayor Bass, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
Just to start off, we would love to kind of hear your initial reaction to the unrest that we've seen play out now in Paramount and Compton and now happening in downtown LA today.
Well, I mean, I will tell you, this has been a very difficult time in our city and in our county with the...
By the way, I hear a lot of people talking about, well, this is America. Why are there Mexico flags there? You know, well, ICE is going after people from Mexico. And by the way, talking about how it's so America, half of LA is from Mexico. LA stands for Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a Mexican name. What are you going to change it to? The Angels? You know, you're going to change San Francisco to Saint Francisco? These are all, California was part of Mexico. Texas was part of Mexico. Jesus Christ, man. Where do you think you get a name called El Paso? Where do you think you get a name called San Diego? Those are Hispanic names. So, and by the way, the whole, I don't want to see a whole bunch of foreign flags. Dude, this is America. We are a pluralistic society. We have all of the different immigrants that have come to this country. Irish, Italian, Afghani, Mexico, Brazil, Canada, Russian, Ukrainian, European, they're all here. So when you see somebody waving a flag, and by the way, where are you motherfuckers bitching about these Mexican flags? Where are you motherfuckers bitching when you see people waving Israeli flags? That's a foreign country. You don't have a problem with that one, though. You know, you just see a burning car and a Mexico flag and immediately blame it on them. Do you have any proof that either one of those guys that are riding around with the Mexican flag set that thing on fire? That thing looks like it's been on fire for a while. But, you know, immediately, it's got to be a Mexican.
The fear that anytime people go to work and their family learns that ICE is on the premises and they might be detained, and families come and they're not sure whether their spouses or their family members have been taken away, and when they are taken away, not knowing where they're going. So this has been a very, very difficult time. But having said that, under no circumstances is violence acceptable. And when violence happens, it's going to be dealt with. And frankly, I think when there is violence, it really compromises the cause that people are actually fighting for. And so I'm concerned that now the federal government has nationalized the National Guard, and we illegally have troops in our city. I do not believe that that is called for, because I am confident that LAPD and other law enforcement agencies like the sheriffs can handle things in Los Angeles.
Mayor, it is rare that we see a president federalize troops without the governor being on board of that state, but that has happened. The president of the United States called you out specifically on his social media platform, saying you and the governor cannot do your jobs, and so he is forced to step in. What is your response to the president and his actions today? My response would be, go fuck yourself, you orange turd.
Well, first of all, I certainly reject the notion that neither the governor or I can do our jobs. We have been in close collaboration. And having said that, I've also been in close communication and collaboration with representatives in the White House. And so I reject that notion and feel that we can be in charge and deal with what has happened here. Unfortunately, in our city, we have experience with civil unrest, but I think that it is most important that we act very aggressively and prevent things from getting out of hand.
And the reason why Donald Trump doesn't know it is because he's at an MMA fight with fucking Dana White. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. The federal detention center in LA, that when ICE went and started arresting people at work, by the way, they were at work. You know, there was a couple of them at, there was, I don't know, I believe they even, as they were arresting these people, they arrested I believe the head of the SEIU, which is a huge union. They arrested the head of the SEIU in this, this mass arrest of, working immigrants. By the way, are they criminals, or are you arresting them at fucking work, man? How do you think things get done in this country, man? Immigrants do a hell of a lot for our economy. Are you going to be working in that clothing factory? Are you going to be doing day labor shit, Mr. Right-wing America guy? You know, are you going to be hanging out in front of Home Depot to get a job to do shit work for shit pay? Anyway, ICE, the ICE raid in LA that did all this, they grabbed a whole bunch of people and they took them to the ICE detention facility in LA, and a whole bunch of protesters showed up there, and they had words for, you know, the ICE Gestapo. They're saying, set them free, let them stay. Look at these douchebags with their little pepper spray. And by the way, unlike the January 6th rioters who were breaking down doors trying to get these people are just standing outside. They circled the building and protested. There was no violence. They just circled the building and protested. Okay, well, that looks a little violent. Tough guys. That looks like what? Maybe 50, 60 people? Maybe 100 tops? You can only push people so far. You are sending your militarized force into small communities. Eventually, it's going to come to a head. People are going to get tired of this shit, and they are going to strike back any way they can. Now, they're not armed like the military, but they have the numbers. And you push people this far, this is what you're going to get. I mean, it's a law of nature. You can only push people so far before they break. And Donald Trump sending in the National Guard is only intensifying it. It's like Donald Trump is intentionally throwing gasoline on this fire. LA was not on fire until Donald Trump decided to get involved. Oh, by the way, now this guy's a legend. Take a look at this guy. This is a little skateboard kid. He was standing in front of a whole, he just flipped him off. He was standing in front of a whole bunch of, you can't see him off camera, but there's a row of I don't know if they're DHS. I mean, there's so many of them. There's DHS, ICE, National Guard. And he's standing in the middle of the street by himself. And they're shooting, rubber bullets at him and tear gas. Take a look. You see them all? And he's just standing there. And he's taking it. And he's slowly walking off. They're calling this guy Skater Kid or something, but he's a fucking legend. Look at him. He just strolls off and then flips him off. So when you're thinking about, how desperate this is, you also got to put in your mind that there are a lot of people here that are just done taking this shit. And people are standing up and they're fighting back. So you need people like this to give you a little bit of hope in the face of all of this fascism. Here's another one. This guy was great. He was being interviewed by, I think, ABC or CBS. It looks like CBS on the ground in LA. Take a look. Listen to this guy, man. He's fucking great.
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
Tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism. Fucking legendary. I love it. He's just calm, cool, and collected. I got to hear it again. I got to hear it again. Let me see. Can I get it to play again?
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
Yes, it does, man. Yes, it does. This... I don't know how much further this is going to go. I just heard that they're sending 700 Marines from Camp Pendleton to LA. Posse comitatus, man. You are not, that is a law from the 1800s. You're not allowed to use the military, which is designed to fight outside of this country, to use them on American soil. Back during Donald Trump's first term, during the Black Lives Matter movement, Mark Esper told him, when Donald Trump said, why can't we shoot him? Why can't we just shoot him in the leg or something? Mark Esper's like, no, we can't do that. General Mark Milley was like, no, Mr. President, I'm not going to be sending my military on American streets policing American people. That's not what America is about. But there are no more stops. There's nobody in Donald Trump's orbit to tell him no. He has successfully surrounded himself with a bunch of fascist goons who are not going to have anything to say to him. He says jump, they say how high. They say how fascist. I don't know where it's going to go from here. I really don't know. But we are, people are asking, is Donald Trump going to go fascist? Is he going to do a fascist takeover? Honey, we're there. We're there. That's what this is. We do not have anybody in his way. And it seems like he's not going to be stopped. God damn, man. God damn. This is all just a fucking tragedy. And it's making me sick to my stomach. It's breaking my fucking heart. But I'll be updating you the more I hear about it. I'm sure this is not going to end anytime soon. We'll see how much further this goes. But I will tell you this. You do not deal with fascism by appeasement. Where are you, Chuck Schumer? Where are you, Hakeem Jeffries? Where is anybody? I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate Gavin Newsom standing up to him, but where is the rest of the Democratic Party in the face of this? Have they all been cucked? Are they just basically, we give up, fascism wins? You do not give them an inch because they will take a mile. What do you do with a bully? You punch him in the fucking face. In this case, I guess metaphorically, but in general, you do not give the bully your lunch money. You punch him in the fucking face. Because if you give him the lunch money, he will continue to take that lunch money. And he won't stop at the lunch money. He'll be taking more until he takes the shirt off of your goddamn back. You do not give in to fascism. You fight fascism. Goddamn America, let's fight fascism. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.